Everybody has a middle. I mean, literally everybody has a middle. And in today's show, we're going to talk about how to control the middle part of your opponent's body in what I call a tight waist. So stay tuned. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Scott, and welcome to another episode of Freestyle Judo. Well, in today's show, I want to analyze and really pick apart a concept of controlling an opponent that, a lot of people normally don't think about, and I think maybe we should take some time and think about it. It's what I call tight-waisting an opponent. Tight waist, to grab tightly around your opponent's waist and control them. The ultimate tight waist probably is ogoshi, the major hip throw, because you are grabbing around his waist, throwing him over your body. So if you got that idea, you understand what tight waisting is about it. But it's really useful in a lot of different throwing techniques, and certainly in a lot of different sacrifice or sutemi waza, which you'll be seeing in some of the videos today. But you will also see how you can use it in ground fighting as well, and I think it's a really important concept. So we're going to study tight waisting today a little later in the show, but right now I'd like to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the importance of knowing CPR. I am a certified American Heart Association CPR instructor, as is my wife, and that's one of the ways I make a living these days is to teach CPR to a lot of people. And so I'm naturally biased about it, but I also have had to do CPR on people, and I know it really does work. And I know a lot of people, a lot of firemen, other people have done it as well. So you might be also one of those people who's had to do CPR on somebody, and you know it's a good skill to have when you need it. And just like any self-defense skill, any other type of skill, like I said, it's good to know when you need it, and CPR certainly is. So that's cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And everywhere in the world, it's taught. And you should, if you don't know it now, you should. Okay, no matter if you're a student, especially if you're a coach. One of the requirements I make, and I've done for many, many years, in fact, my entire coaching career, is when someone a requirement for black belt, when you go your shodan, I require you to know CPR. You have to go through an American Heart Association or American Red Cross or some other sanctioned body, their CPR training. And I think it's that important. And I got that, I learned that from my instructor, Ken Regeneter. He required that of me when I was a young man, and I had to go and get, for my shodan, I had to get my CPR. And then in those days, it was actually a first aid. And then later on, when CPR became much more of a science, I certainly included CPR. I would also say that about first aid, too. You should really be skilled in first aid because you never know when you will need it. It's important to have a good first aid kit in your dojo and have well-stocked, certainly with all the tools you need. And you can go online. I don't need to repeat that here, but you can go online and find out information on how to stock a really good first aid kit. But what I want to talk about is that CPR. It's really important, everybody. And if you're teaching people judo or Sambo or any other combat sport, you may need to use CPR, okay, because somebody could get choked out cold and they could go into even a worse situation. Accidents could happen. So be prepared. Be prepared. And if nothing else, you're prepared at home. You can be that person. You can be that calm in the storm and do CPR on somebody when you need to be doing it. So it's really an important skill. So I just want to point that out here in this show. I should have done it in previous shows, but I certainly want to do it now. CPR is an important thing. That's cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and you can go to any hospital. You can look online. You can even go to their website. By the way, go to here's a point. Go to the American Heart Association website. That's www.heart.org. www.heart.org, and you can get instruction online, or you can find a place that you can take it in your nearby area. So I definitely do that. And I think it's important to really do CPR. So much for that. I just wanted to get that off my chest because I think it's something really, really important to do. So there we go. All right, another thing I want to talk about before we get into tight waisting is I had a great question from one of my YouTube viewers, and it was about, how to get the most out of your training time when you're on the mat, basically. And I think that's a really great observation on his part, and there's so many things you can do to train more efficiently, but what I'm thinking about right now is what I always call the 90-10 rule. 90% activity, 10% rest. Okay, that's active rest too. So when you show up on the mat, let's say you're an athlete, you show up on the mat, you have every intention of spending 90% of the time you're on that mat doing something productive to make you a better athlete, okay, to make you learn more, be in better shape, skilled, whatever it may be. And as a coach, I want to have that 90-10 rule definitely in mind and go by it and live by it, because I want 90% of the time, I want my people active and working, okay, in a very productive manner. And 10% of the time, they can rest. That means, you know, if you want 10% of the time, you can ask how Aunt Millie's doing or something, that's great. Do it in that part, 10, you know, we all need rest. We all need some downtime, but 90% of the time, we should actually be doing something. So it's kind of a thing I've been doing for many, many years, 90-10 rule. And it's worked quite well. That doesn't mean you have to bang them hard for 90% of the time and make them suffer, but stay active. Be doing something productive that is going to help you as a coach develop your athletes better, or if you're an athlete or student, spend your time more wisely. Because let's face it, everybody, we only have so much time we can get on the mat. It's actually a treasured time. You know, this thing called life gets in the way. And so when we're on the mat, I want to spend as much of it in a productive, useful manner as I possibly can, whether I'm a coach or an athlete. So if I follow that 90-10 rule, then I will kind of design my program where we'll have more effective drills, we'll have more effective things we're working on as far as skill, better randori, and we're focused. It just keeps you focused. So that's what I use. Now, you may say, well, I want to go a little lighter. I want to go 80% active and 20% talking. That's fine. But I'm thinking, or my belief is this, is that you should stay active and use your time wisely. And it's just a matter of what is called time management, no matter what it is, whether it's coaching, business, whatever it is, time management is essential. And how we manage our time while we're at the dojo really makes a big difference. So if you follow the 90-10 rule in your training, I think you're going to be having better workouts, more productive workouts, and the results will show. So that being said, let's get on to some tight waist action here. Okay, so I've got 7 videos lined up, okay, and we're going to very first we're going to talk about the basics of what a tight waist is, how to control. In it, I'm going to allude to a move called the omelet grip, or an omelet. And I picked that up off my friend John Saylor many years ago out at the Olympic Training Center when he was coaching there. And basically it's a grip where you throw your opponent flat as an omelet. But it's a good setup, and you'll see it in the first video. I think I mentioned it a little bit there, but it's part of doing the tight waist. It's not the primary part of it, but it is a way to set it up. You'll see what we mean in our videos here. But the first video of the 7 is going to be, I'll be working with Big Matt McCormick and also Eric Weaver, and we'll be showing you the basics of how to set the tight waist up and get your opponent really tight-waisted, control his waist completely. Not just, this probably wouldn't do so much for Ogoshi, but for a lot of other throws as well. So anyway, without further ado, let's look at the basics of how to do a tight waist. Here we go. All right, we're going to take a look at what we call an omelet grip and a tight waist. And it's a way of controlling your opponent's arms and certainly his hips in any throwing technique. So we're out here gripping, so it's like we're gripping. What I'm going to do is when I catch it, and you can slap it, whatever, you can catch it in this, but I want to catch my left hand on his left hand low. I want to catch fairly low down here. Now if I was in a no-gi situation, I could grab his wrist easily, okay? But he's got a nice jacket, let's use it. So I'm catching here, there it is. Now a lot of times, if he knows what he's doing, and he does, he will pull this arm back, and that's the smart thing to do. Well, this works on smart guys, because as he starts to pull back, that lets me have a hole there to swim my right arm through, okay? And when he does that, boom, I catch it, I slide through. Now, you can watch Eric, so he's going to catch low here. Now, he slides that, fishes in there. Now, comes in, turn all the way around so you can see how he tight, don't grab the belt tight yet. You want to hook that far hip. This is called a tight waist, okay? And you can throw this guy a Tanyotoshi or a Nagi. A lot of things can happen from here. by tight-waisting. But you see how he's tied up his whole arm. He's trapped his, in this case, left arm, and he's got his arm around the waist. Let's look at that again. See how that tight waist is? Okay, do that again, guys, from the back side. See, swing in, there's the tight waist. All right, from that basic, setup there, that first video, you kind of got the idea of how we're going to do the tight waist. Now let's take it further. The next video I'm showing, we were working with the guys on using the tight waist as a counter grip to an opponent if he's beating your grip. If he's got you in a really strong, he's bent you over, you're in trouble, okay? You're in trouble in this situation. And we're going to use a tight waist into a sukui nagi or scooping throw to counter his strong grip. And it's a really effective grip I've seen used more in Sambo. I don't think I've seen it much in Judo, but I've certainly seen it used in Sambo. Because in Sambo, there's a little more bent over action, a lot more bent over action there is in Judo as well. So you'll see this situation come up. But anyway, this next video is a tight waist to sukui nagi. So here we go. So he's beating me at the grip. This is a good counter throw, okay? Okay, immediately tight waist. This is one of many options I could have from a tight waist situation. But as soon as you get behind him, shoot low, squat very low, your hips, see how, and you might even jam the knee in there. That helps a lot. Some guys even will lift the knee as they throw. So that's totally up to you. But at this point, scoop here, drive them in, okay? Can I have you, you like this throw, so I'm gonna let you demo here. I'm gonna get out of the way. Now look how his reaction is tight waist, and that helps close the space. See how as soon as he tight waist, top hand, right hand, boom, left hand goes. It's like automatic, all right? And that's that into the fight, okay? That happens in a parking lot of a convenience store. Hire a lawyer.
Bar.
But in Judo, because, IJF, I don't think it wouldn't be legal at all, IJF, but AAU and Freestyle, Sambo, we see this stuff a lot, okay? Everybody get it? Yeah. Remember, some key things to work on here, guys. Think about one thing leads to another, okay? When I tight waist him, when he beats me at the grip, don't actually throw him, but do some stuff here, guys. Bam, he's beating him here at the grip, okay? Now, Derek, he wants to close the gap. By doing so, he tight waists, cinches in, he's doing that really good here, and he gets really low. Lower your levels with your legs. Don't bend over at the waist, okay? Now, yeah, so that is he squats low. Now with this other one, as soon as he tight waists there, see, he's kind of like, he squeezes him. And he's here and here. And when he lifts, he could, there you go. Like, what, carry through the threshold? Not you, buddy. All right. Okay, in this third video, Derek is going to be showing how to use a tight waist setup, kind of an omelet grip, swim your hand through and catch the tight waist there, into a Yokoguruma. Okay, a side wheeling action. You'll see what happens here. It's a really, really effective throw and totally fools a guy. It does. So I'll let the video do the talking. It's a tight waist grip into Yokoguruma. So here we go.
If we're in a normal stance here, I'm going to catch a cross grip on his sleeve. And then as he tries to tug the sleeve back, that's going to give me the opening to slip right in between his ribs and his elbow and get around and tight waist him.
So you want to get that tight waist around his waist. Don't grab his belt. You tend to have a floating elbow. Hook the whole elbow or hook the whole hip. Okay. Now that's the kind of the omelet movement. But the setup here is when you're grip fighting, you've got to, there's your anchor. Your left hand is your anchor hand to set him up, because a lot of times they'll pull it away, and a good guy isn't just going to flop it away. He's going to keep it elbow in tight, pull it in, and there. See, that's how you set him up. Now there's your setup. Now it's just a matter of what do I want to do with this guy from here. I mean, you could toss with a ogoshi, you could do all kinds of throws, but we're going to do a fun throw. And we're going to roll under them, and it's almost like a Yokoguruma or something. We're going to see what it is here. So we're going to dip under and throw them. So go ahead and toss them, and there we have it. Now that looks like a spectacular fake type throw, but it's not, because it's a very safe attack. It's a good rolling under them and catch them. Okay. Now, as one thing Don Hinchcliffe pointed out, it keeps him from posting his hand to stop the throw.
Right.
So that's why you want to go ahead, tie him up again, Derek, if you could. And see that left hand right there? Now watch, he filters it over, and there's the hook. Now, so that keeps Eric Weaver from stopping with his left hand to stop the throw. Now when Derek swings his left leg through the middle, through that hole, and you roll right over on top of him. So you're really filling all kinds of gaps with your body to defeat him. In the first sense, you're grabbing and you're controlling, and see there's a big gap. He controls it, he fills it up. Now the second one, watch as his head dips low, his left leg is going to go through the legs, whip him over, and throw him. Okay, and there you've got kind of a Yoko-Guruma. I guess that really, that Yoko-Guruma, it's a sucker move. It really catches, it could catch even a good guy unaware. So it's one of those things you might not use certainly all the time, but it's one of those things you got in your bag of tricks to pull out of nowhere and pull it out, and it could work. The next one is an uranagi, a rear throw, which we also include some thigh lifting action. You'll see this a lot in Sambo, but it's we're taking a kind of a setting up with a grip, a 2-on-1, swim through, get the omelet style grip, and catch the tight waist into a really effective uranagi. Okay, I've seen a lot of guys use this actually. So in Sambo, again, I don't see it much in Judo because just the stylistic differences, but you will see it a lot in Sambo as well, or maybe other grappling sports. But anyway, it is an uranagi, and also an uranagi variation where we do a thigh lift or leg lift to finish. You'll see what Derek does here with Vlad Kim in the video here. So anyway, without further ado, let's look at an uranagi from a tight waist grip. Here we go. But now we're going to do something, and I actually picked this up off John Saylor many years ago, and it's a sweet move. And tight waist him there, and let's look at everything. When he's doing this tournament, guys, can you see his head right on the chest? That's essential. He's completely dominating and controlling the shoulder. His head is going to be used to really push, as a kind of a third arm, okay, as Renee Palmer had the third arm. Okay, you drive there, but see how he's tied him up. So everything's tied up here. Now, you notice how he's come in with his hips. And when he does this, he's going to keep proceeding through, and he's going to do a thigh sweep or a lifting type thigh throw, like that. Why don't you come to the side and so you can do the full thing. So he does the omelet grip, catches it, now watch the thigh sweep. Bam, there you go. Now, the heavier weight guys, let me do this a bit here. The heavier weight guys, you won't be able to lift and turn as much as the middle weights because we're just built different a little bit. And I notice when you're doing this, you're coming in through as a heavyweight, tying up here, you're coming in here and you're just chopping more and you're driving in this direction. Try that. A little bit of it. The lightweights might like this too, but I know that as a heavyweight, bigger boy, we always did this. That is the one we found. That's the way this John taught me many years ago and worked quite well for it. He's a Sambo guy. He's a real Sambo guy, so he likes that thigh sweep. He likes to lift a little bit. That's cool too. But that's the original way. We just called it the omelet because you fill them as flat as an omelet. That's why we call it that. And that's really a tie-up, grip tie-up of the tight waist and a thigh sweep. What do you call it? Kosoto Gari, Kosoto Tanio Toshi. Whatever you call it Ippon, right? Yeah. Right. Okay, one more time and then we'll... So to show the heavier way, the way to show it like that, that's the basic, okay? Then the one that Mr. Sambo likes, which really works, okay? He comes in and he's getting more of this big sweep, see that? And you get a big amplitude throw. Either one, they're good. You definitely see we're using the crash pad on this, aren't we? All right, this next video is Kataguruma using a tight waist. Okay, now I know the IJF rules no longer permit to grabbing the leg and that type of thing, although we do allow it in freestyle judo, certainly done in Sambo and other sports, other fighting sports. But if you want to use a tight waist, grabbing around the waist to do a Kataguruma shoulder wheel, this next really short video, we were just showing it just briefly in one practice. I was having the guys do it here. So it is a short video, but it does show you how you can use a tight waist into a Kataguruma or shoulder wheel situation. So here we go. I want a tight waist and I'm going to come in, I'm going to drop and catch it from a tight waist and like this. And when I come in, it's kind of almost a sloppy knee drop, but I'm going to toss him like that. So that's what it's going to look like. Instead of grabbing for the legs, I'm pulling around his waist. That's all. So he beats him at the grip. Now, if he tight waist here, he's got to have that. He can grab the belt and grab the tight. I like to grab the hip. Okay? And when he does that, he ducks under the head, and he slides under. See that? And now he's going to take him that direction. See how? Now, this next one is, of course, the classic, the king of all tight waist situations, which is ogoshi. Okay? And one practice, Don Hinchcliffe and I were co-coaching ogoshi, how to do the basics of ogoshi. But when you do the basics of ogoshi, you should certainly learn how to tight waist your opponent. And that comes out in this short video coming up here. And really all it is grabbing tightly around the waist. And I always believe that instead of grabbing the belt, I hook the hip, my hand on his hip, and really notch it in tight. And it sucks it in tight to my body. And that way you can, in ogoshi, you can load them up on your hip and much more easily control them to throw them over your hip. So anyway, this next one is the ultimate of all tight waist situations, ogoshi. So here we go. Does this? Watch what Don does with his right hand. He's going to grab around the waist. So he grabs tightly around the waist. And I call it tight waisting because that's what you're doing, grabbing tight around the waist. And he traps it. He's grabbing right about the hip here. You can grab the belt. But I think by grabbing the hip, the bone here at the hip, you've got a lot more control. And what he's going to do, he's going to load Mike up onto his hip. And he's going to turn around, and I'll get out of the way, and he's just going to throw him right over his hip. You see it? Tight waist control is not just for throwing techniques. You can certainly use it in ground fighting as well. And this next video, the final video, the 7th one, is in 2 parts. And basically I'm showing how to do pretty much an ogoshi from the ground in ground fighting situations, so ogoshi off the knees. But I'm showing some differences you'd be doing in a real situation, so pay attention. It's not straight rolling them over forward. You'll see what I'm doing in that first part of this next video. The second half of the video, it briefly shows about how I tight waist, and if he really beats me down and I can't control him, but I can get my hand around his waist, suck it in, get a tight waist, come across his body, use my other hand to use a hand block or a knee block, and take him down, break him down from a stable to unstable situation. And it is a very useful breakdown. A number of my guys have used, I've used in our careers competitively, both in judo, sambo, and I've also seen it used in other grappling sports. You may see it certainly in college wrestling because, you know, it clearly could work in any type of format, grappling or wrestling sport. So you'll see what I mean here. So this next video is 2 parts. It's not real long, but it is 2 parts, showing how you can use a tight waist in a grappling or newaza ground fighting situation. So here we go. This is why I call this thing tight waist. It's grabbing tight around the waist. So as I turn it here. So when I'm doing the breakdown where I'm basically doing ogoshi off the knees, okay? When I do this, pop him up, he might have like got a high grip on me here and I'm in trouble. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to control his waist, his hips. And if I have those, I probably got him. Okay, so grab tight around the waist here. See this? And then sink in and just roll right over. And when you do that, you land right on him, from right on top, finish with a monegatami. Grappling in a neutral position, okay, and he kind of gets the edge on me, and he beats me here, okay? Oh, rats, you know. Some things you can do. There are options you have here, okay? But let's look at one of them that we've been working on here. It's kind of an ogoshi off the mat. Here's a good example where I'm going to counter. So if I've got him, and you can see how he's dominating me here. And he might even knock me down, you know, but I've got this opening here. Quick tight waisted here, okay? Now I have some options what I can do. So let's look at the most basic. He's tight waist him here, and now I can't throw in that direction because I'm really off balance. So I'm going to go in this direction. I'm going to go over here, okay? So I'm basically going to do an ogoshi across his body. So lock him here, grab the elbow, okay? And I'm just going to kind of quickly scoot across him this way as quickly as I can. I'm not going to get very far, I realize that. That's why I've got to tight waist him. If I don't have a good grip with my hand around his hip,
it's not going to work, okay? So I've got to have it tight right here, like this, and it's rolled right over, wham, and on top of the guy. And I mean, we're feeling ribs on ribs here, and I'm really crushing on maybe here. Boom, I'm stuck. Oh, I'm in trouble here. But get your hand around the waist, tight waisting. See, like we did before. Come turn it. See, tight waisting here, like this, okay? Come on back. He's dominating. Tight waist here. Now watch. With this hand, I'm going to scoop here. I'm just going to block. And when I do that, I'm going to drive my body in that direction. Block. Wham. Come across. That's a good move too. If you can't get your hand on his wrist or sleeve or elbow to pull. So, he's dominated me. Boom. Tight waist. He's pulled that away, let's say. Oh. Take him down.
This whole concept of tight waisting, controlling somebody's body part, is something I think we certainly in judo and in sambo and any of the fighting sports should look at when we talk about our methodology of teaching and our system of teaching, how we can teach our students and coach our students more effectively, how they can learn skills better and more efficiently by pointing out things like tight waisting, okay? Instead of isolating things like you have to do ogoshi this way, you have to do this way, you know, let's use the concept of controlling the body, okay? Because that's what we're doing in judo. I mean, judo is the ultimate kinesiology. It's the ultimate control of the body. I mean, you know, it's the idea of controlling another human being's movement. And a good way to control his movement is to control him at the waist. So I think if we look at it as a methodology, as a way of teaching, grappling, judo, sambo, whatever it may be, to look at these different control elements of the human body. In this particular case, we're controlling his hips. We might want to control his shoulders. We might control his elbow, certainly his head. Look at it from that perspective. And a lot of people do. I'm not saying that people don't do it. I'm the only guy that does. But a lot of people do. But I think overall, we should be using this as a methodology to teach these skills. And they're very complex controlling skills of another human body. You know, I mean, the hard part about judo, sambo, any of the sports we do is you don't really have to control your own body. You know, I have not just my body I have to control my opponent's body. And the better I can control my opponent's body, and one of these methods is certainly a tight waist, you know, I'll beat him. I'll come out on top, and that's what I want to do. So anyway, I just wanted to have this video, this show dedicated to a concept of tight waisting and how it can be used. I just showed some of the methods you can use. There are a lot of others as well. But so I hope maybe you know that light bulb goes over your head and say, hey, I have a move I can do from that tight waist. I hope this show has kind of brought that out in you. So anyway, hey, thanks a lot for watching, and I really love doing these shows, and I really hope you enjoy watching them too. So I will see you next time.